Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn, and this is not the area of the subject of this video, but I thought I'd give a couple updates on the road. One is that ditch that we did a couple videos ago, which is lining the ditch with rocks. I basically more than doubled what we did there over there. We did have another rain, and I just realized for a couple reasons that I really needed to extend this ditch. One, because there was some washout along the road. And the other thing is it makes this angle a bit less steep to mow, so I'm not so worried about, coming down below the road level to make a little swale of grass. And it makes, so I can just sort of end this on a decent level for mowing, and then it'll just turn into rocks. So it allows me to have not quite as steep of a slope for mowing. I didn't video doing this because I have a whole video on that. The process is the same. I did cheat though this time, and I bought some tailings. So this is what's left over when they screen gravel, either 3-inch or 1.5-inch screen gravel. And this place that I got this is less than 2 miles from my house, so I was able to get it with my tractor and dump trailer. So it's 3 loads, 5 yards each. I think that's 15 yards, which is just about a tri-axle dump truck load. Now go to the end of the road and another update. And the other update is I just have one more load of gravel to finish this. Thought he was going to be here before now, but anyhow, he didn't come. We got a couple this morning. I obviously did not film those, and I let my box blade rest there until the last load comes, and then I'll level everything out, because I needed to disconnect that so I could go get the rocks in my dump trailer. So the project at hand today is to extend this road. We have location of the building, the house, the cabin we're going to build, and I have some pink lines. I'm going to erase this one because that's not the one that we wanted. And even after this, I'm going to relocate it just a little bit now that I've laid it out. Just sort of maybe soften this corner a bit so it's not quite so sharp. And it's going to go all the way over there. Perhaps you can see a green ribbon just to the right of that little tree. That's sort of the center, roughly the center of the house. So this road or driveway will go behind it. Sort of hug the tree line a little bit. We'll leave a little green space, grass between the tree line and the road. So my plan here for this is going to be much different, much easier than the road build there, which required a lot of material to be relocated. This one really is just taking up the topsoil and putting down gravel. I do have my smooth face bucket on, which is really the same bucket, but I just made this attachment, which just uses the old teeth that I welded onto some 1/4-inch plate steel, and then put several passes of 70-18 on the tip here, and that seems to be working well. So my thought here with this is, one, it just makes for much cleaner digging, and all I want to do is remove the topsoil. And what's beneath the topsoil here is hard packed clay, so I'm hoping that that smooth face bucket will also make this easier, where it's just not going to dig into the clay very easily, so it should be able to just easily scrape the topsoil off. I will measure this. I don't know, guessing maybe another couple 150 feet, maybe 200 more feet. Up to the end of this gravel here, the road is 900 feet long, so I'll add another 100 to 200 feet. I will put the measurement up there in the video now. So I'm guessing there's probably 8-10 inches of topsoil here. I'm going to bring it back up to the original grade with some of that screen gravel, the same place that I got those rocks, just because that's less expensive. And then once I get it up to the original level, then I'll top it with some of that crusher run gravel, which packs nicely. It has some crushed stone, some rock dust in it, so it packs a lot better than just screen gravel. So I'm just going to set this off here to the right side of the road, and probably with my bulldozer, we'll see. I may do some of it with the excavator blade is just push it here. I don't want to push it here because where the dogs are is where my electrical line's got to go, so I don't want to interrupt that space between the road and the pile here. I'm already sort of cutting it close. So I'll just push that over here and let the topsoil set. It will decompose, compost, and be some nice loose topsoil with rocks in it in a year or two. Well, there it is, the last load for this section till I get up where the excavator is. So I think I'm gonna leave this gravel the way it is, probably through the winter. May touch it up and put some more next year. We'll see how the water flows as far as grade on the road itself, whether it runs off or whether it puddles. So the thickness varies. Probably the thinnest will be about 2 to 3 inches. The thickest is probably 8 inches, just to sort of get the slope that I wanted and to smooth out any inconsistencies with the road base. So back to this stuff up here. This is actually a bit more gravelly soil, and I remember that now. This area here did almost like gravelly, not nearly as hard or as high a content of clay as down at the beginning of the road, even sort of where the gravel that he just laid starts and beyond is really hard clay. This is still clay, but it does seem to have a lot more gravel, sand. Doesn't stick together quite as well. So my bucket with the smooth face is actually able to dig into it a little bit more. So at the beginning here, I was probably getting, 3 or 4 inches more than I needed to get down to the sort of the base soil. Yeah, this sticks together a little bit, but it's much more crumbly than most of the material around here. This is actually unique for my property. So here, looking at the topsoil, it's only 6 inches there, 8 inches there. So anyhow, I mean, the color difference is significant enough where it's relatively easy. I mean, it does go from a gray to a brown before it hits the black of the topsoil. The big rock here that I'm not going to take out, just leave that. So sometimes the line is yellow, sometimes it's pink. The pink was sort of my initial take at the layout. The yellow is where I tried to soften the curve a little bit. And then up here I actually got closer to the wood. So the line I'm going by will either be yellow or pink. The technique that I've found that works the best, because I have to rotate at the same time I'm cutting, and the swivel motor is really not that strong, so it's very difficult to do it full depth. So what I try to do to follow the line, like this pink line here, is just barely skim, just basically take the sod, the grass off with the first cut and try to match my line as best I can. And then once I've established that cut, then I can go deeper and get the rest of the soil. So I'm getting into an area of this field that's very wet. It's just like a little swath of wetness. It's got standing water. Over there does not. Even the grass is different. So there's something different about the groundwater or soil here. I am seeing a lot more of this gray clay, which is crumbly. It doesn't really stick together like sort of that brown, or I guess it's more brownish clay, you know, back that way. So it'll be interesting to see what the ground looks like. This looks like there might be some water percolating. So if that's the case, and this is pretty soft, what I'll probably have to do is put road fabric basically from where the wetness, you know, through any soggy, sloppy material. Even though I've gotten rid of the topsoil, it still can be soft underneath. You know, from here on out, I haven't really experienced any soft material. This is pretty firm ground that I don't need fabric for. So I'll bring it back again when I've got some more of this cleared out, and we'll see what the ground looks like. Hopefully you can make it out on camera, but there's a difference in the grass. This grass here is fine. You get to the wider blades, more coarse grass, and that sort of lasts till just up the hump just before those trees. And that does coincide with this gray colored soil. These puddles here, I'm pretty sure it's just from surface runoff from the adjacent grass. It's not percolating through from underneath. But yeah, this is, I'm guessing it's a low spot. I need to bring my transit out, my laser level, to see where the low spot is. And the other thing I need to determine is, from the house side, it's just going to be a concrete pad. I'd like to drain the beneath it, you know, the crushed rock that the pad will be on. I'm thinking I can drain it into the woods, which is close by. I'll just have to check the elevation. So yes, this will be a good candidate for road fabric. Well, it's done. It was a bit more difficult to determine the end of the topsoil and the beginning of the subsoil. Unless the topsoil is really thick here, I don't have quite as much change in color. It wasn't quite as easy. Oh, the last thing I'll do here before I'm ready to lay the base gravel is I'll just go through this and blade it off so it's relatively smooth. Looks good that way. Looks a little sloppy this way. So I know my depth has varied quite a bit. Here it's probably 14 inches. It's deeper there, but even though the terrain may go up and down a bit, I'll probably make the finished road bed a bit more level without the ups and downs. Here it's only 10 inches. So I'm going to go through and make a sort of an average depth. The width should be 12 feet, and I will use the length measurement that you saw earlier in the video that actually I haven't taken yet, but I will. These rocks made it a bit of a challenge. Either the blade would get caught on them or ride up over them, or the track would, and then that would cause the blade to dig in. But overall, I'm happy with it. This is basically all clay. As long as I get rid of the topsoil, that's really all that's required. If I have some loose clay here, that's fine. That'll pack in with the bank run gravel that I'm going to put on. So basically where the standing water is that grayer type clay, soil, whatever it is. And then when the water goes away, that clay color goes away and turns more of a brown. I'm pretty sure it was just runoff from this standing water here. It is supposed to be dry for the next 3 or 4 days, so we'll see if this evaporates versus the grass adjacent to it, or whether there's a possibility that it's groundwater. I do have I have a gravity fed spring. The spring is about 1,000 feet into the woods. It goes down and then back up, because gravity feed, the height of the well or the spring is lower than the height of my house, but it is quite a long run. But I did go over it at some point. That little opening there, a road, that's where the pipe goes, and I was trying to figure out if I could determine where a ditch might have been dug years ago. Originally it was an iron pipe that went from the spring to my house, I think in the late 70s, maybe the 80s. They dug that up and put plastic pipe in, which is what I have now, but you can see the old pipe they just sort of left in the woods. Not all of it, but significant remnants of it. So that water line should go right around here somewhere. I was fearing that water might have come from a leak. That's just gravity drain. There is no suction on the pump. It just drains into a tank in my house. So if there's a leak in the pipe, I'd never know it, other than just sort of standing water in the field, which I've had before. Not out here. I have had a couple instances right around the house. But my best guess is there appears to be a lot more rocks right around here where this big rock is, and some other smaller ones, which lines up with that opening and lines up with the house. And it's a relatively straight line as best I can tell. If the conditions are right, like in the spring, or maybe the first snowfall, or after it's been mowed like now, I can make out just the slightest little of a divot that seems to run from here straight to the house. So I'm guessing that's where the ditch for that is. So I'm thinking it goes right across here. So that's it for the digging. I probably won't video it, but I'll take this windrow of topsoil that I've made, take the dozer and just push it up into a pile, like I mentioned, just on the other side of that pile. Make sure I have a nice clear path here, which is where the primary power is going to be. But this will wrap it up for digging this out. The next thing we have is some bank gravel, screen gravel. I'm going to use 3-inch. It can be bony, that's fine. Bring it up basically to the level of the grass, maybe a bit higher. Let that settle in. I'll drive over it. I don't have a compactor. I'm not going to rent one for this little bit. And then at some point in the future have the same pressure run gravel put on top. My battery died just as he was dumping that first load. So this is, I guess, the difference. I don't know if it's obvious to tell, probably not. But this material here is the crusher run gravel, so it's 1.5 inches. The material he just delivered is 3-inch screen gravel, so there is no crushing, there are no jagged rocks, it's just natural stones that are 3 inch and less, all the way down to sand. Makes a good road base, but it doesn't pack quite as well for like a road surface. So we had just a little bit of rain last night, maybe 1/4 inch, but this was nice. It's still firm, solid clay, but just with that little bit of moisture, it makes it so slick on top. He wasn't able to back in as much as I'd like, because he was coming up a little bit of a grade there just in front of the bulldozer. So once he gets up here, sort of where we are, it sort of levels out. So I'm hoping with the bit of gravel there now that he can back up a bit further, and maybe with the level ground not have so much issue spinning on this slick clay surface. Well, that's 2 loads. My plan here is to maybe, because it gets quite deep over there, it's not nearly as deep here. So probably a couple lifts, maybe 3, to get it back to the level of the grass. So this is probably 1/3 of the way up here. Down there, where that last pile of rocks is probably about half the depth. So just a couple passes there. It's worked out to be about 70 feet of road fabric to cover this area where that sort of weird gray clay that was waterlogged is. And with a little bit of rain we had last night, there's a bunch of standing water under there. All right. Well, he ended up dumping this one a bit short because he couldn't go back any further. This the left side is really sinking in. So he's going to try one more load and we'll see. I'll spread this maybe just a bit thicker here. I'm not sure it's going to make a difference, but it's not going to make it any worse. Well, this is where he sort of got stuck and had to dump the load here. So I spread it out just a little bit thicker here. We'll see how that does. Where I put the fabric down, I can see some water pumping through, so you can even see a little bit of water there. But yeah, this is all moisture coming from underneath the fabric, or on top of the fabric through the gravel. And I ride over this now, it just sort of squishes it out, so he's not going to be able to go any further than this, at least until this firms up. So we don't have too much more to go, maybe 100 feet or so. So if he can get back to here, then I just have him dump the loads and I just push it there. It's not a big deal. Well, that's it for the first lift, if you will. If my count's right, I think that was seven loads total. I did not video spreading out that last load. You probably have had enough of that. So my guess to do this whole thing was 10 to 12 loads. So it'll probably be pretty close to that. I'm going to tailgate spread it from here. The first load he's going to back in just like he has been doing, which is rather tedious to back in 900 feet on that windy road. But if he feels comfortable, he might be able to turn around in the grass empty just beyond the bulldozer without any problems. Right around here where this grayish material was, I wouldn't recommend it here because it's still standing water. But over there it's much drier. We'll just see what he says. He was able to easily turn around where the road ends there in the drier part of the field with no problem. So he's coming back, driving in again, so he must have felt comfortable with that. Well, that was the last load, at least for now. I lost count. It's probably 12 or 14 would be my guess. So my objective was met. For the most part, it's pretty much level with the original ground, original surface. Except for here, which is where the fabric was. You can see the gray material. I started pushing this off to that pile of topsoil. But where this nasty material was and it was wet, I wanted to raise the road up. One, because this field dips and I'd like to have the road just a bit more level. And to make sure that there's plenty of thickness here for a stable road base. And to make sure that this does not get soupy or wet, that it'll drain. What I don't know, now that I've sort of created this dam here, if when it rains, if I'm going to create a puddle here. So a couple things went through my mind. One is I do have some fall just beyond the tree line. It does dip down. If need be, I could put a pipe here, culvert. More longer term, I think I'd like to fill in this area a bit and or reduce that little hump there in the field just before it sort of goes down, which would also be a way for this to drain out that way instead of come back this way. Anyhow, so I'm going to let this set, let it firm up for days, weeks, I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what my next move will be. Probably at some point when this is firm enough, I will top coat it with some of that crushed gravel that I put on the rest of the road. And then we'll move on from there. So the purpose of this, I have two stakes. One is right there, green one right in front of that ash tree in the four-wheeler. Another one right about there. It's got green ribbon on it. But those would be the potential locations for a cabin. I'll probably start off with one right there. If that goes well, maybe add another one here. And then there's room on the other side of that, sort of a tree island the field does go around the back of it for a couple on the other side. That'll do it for this portion of this project, making a road in a field. This is probably the last bit of it. The road's not really going to go any further anytime soon. So thanks for tagging along. I appreciate it.